Hello ladies and gentlemen, Flyer444 here from GG. Not that anyone other than me uploads onto this channel, so I guess it could just be Flyer444. But anyways, I'm here to talk to you about my favorite League of Legends champion, Thresh. I know that there are a billion other Thresh videos out there, so the format of this video is going to be talking about his skills, his numbers, followed by a hefty amount of strategies you can use as a budding Thresh main solo one-trick idiot like me. Basically, Thresh is classified as a controller, which is a fancy term for support, which in itself is a fancy term for babysitter. Thresh can also be used as a fighter, and if you KS your way to prominence in the game, you can easily achieve that role as well. Thresh's passive is called Damnation, which is when every so often when a unit is killed, minions, camps, enemy champions, the like, they will drop a soul. Each soul grants Thresh 0.75 ability power and armor, and increases the amount his W will shield for. Collecting souls is important, and you should grab as many as possible without putting yourself in danger. An important note here is that a lot of people who play Thresh think that they have to collect souls, and so you'll see them throwing out lanterns and play unnecessarily aggressive in order to get their souls. This is an easy opportunity for you to attack Thresh and get him low. And that having been said, souls are alright, but never sacrifice a lantern, which costs mana and puts your rescue ADC for free ability on cooldown. Because Thresh collects armor and AP from souls, he does not gain armor per level like most other champions do. This means that early game, until his first back, he can be very squishy, and it's really in laning phase that Thresh is his weakest. A short side note, if you're in a bush and a bunch of souls start flying to you, you don't have to worry. Enemies will only see Thresh's souls if they also have vision of Thresh. Now, Thresh's Q is called Death Sentence, and is by far his most flashy ability. After a half-second delay, Thresh throws out his hook in a line and catches the first enemy it comes into contact with, pulling it slightly towards Thresh. This deals magic damage and stuns them for 1.5 seconds, during which Thresh can reactivate his Q to dash towards them. If you play enough Thresh, you can learn to predict where enemies will juke in order to dodge this ability, as unlike a Blitz hook, Thresh's Q takes about a half second longer to go out and has a very clear animation. If your prediction is correct, and you hook an Ezreal out of his Arcane Shift, or hook someone out of a Flash, you can activate your Q's hidden passive, which is called Is That Mad Life, in which either you or your teammate or ADC will bring up Mad Life, at which point you are compared to him. This ability has a fairly long cooldown early game, but the cooldown is shortened by 3 seconds if you hit something with it. Therefore, it's better to hit a minion than nothing at all. There are certain ways of aiming this ability which will help you hook through minions and abuse hitboxes, but I'll get to those strategies later. Thresh's W is called Dark Passage, and it's this ability that makes Thresh a viable pick for support every single time. When activated, Thresh throws out his lantern to the target location where it remains for up to 6 seconds, or until Thresh walks out of range. At this point, the lantern reveals the immediate area, shields the first ally to come near it for up to 4 seconds, and if an ally right-clicks the lantern, they pick it up and dash to Thresh's location. The lantern shield is affected by how many souls you collect, and can be used to pick up souls as well, but, personally I think that lanterns should be saved for emergencies, rather than picking up souls. Thresh's W is incredibly powerful in that you can lantern out allies from rather sticky situations. If an ally steals Baron, for example, and is suddenly surrounded by 4 or 5 salty enemies, a well-placed lantern can save your teammate and make your enemies even saltier. However, it is important to realize that in order for this skill to be useful, you should place the lantern in an area that is free from enemies or minions. If there is someone or something standing on top of your lantern, when the teammate goes to click it, he or she will actually end up autoing the obstruction and will be stuck there. If or when your teammate does click the lantern, he or she will dash to Thresh's final position, which means that you can flash while your teammate is on the way in order to get a little extra range. This ability can be used offensively or defensively, as you can help junglers gank by using Dark Passage to help them get into your lane over walls or from bushes. And, as always, it can be used as a defensive mechanism to save your teammates, or even to help to get to lane faster. Another use for his W is to just throw it at a teammate when they're about to get a kill, so you can beef up your KDA with a well-earned assist. Thresh also has an invisible passage linked to his W called Dumbass ADC, or Dumbass Teammate, in which he or she watches helplessly as his ADC walks away from the lantern instead of taking it. Thresh's E is called Flay, and is the most overpowered spell in his entire kit, although it doesn't always look the flashiest. When activated, Thresh sweeps his chain in a broad line towards a target direction, enemies hit take magic damage, are slowed for 1 second, and are knocked in whatever direction the chain was swept. Passively, Thresh's basic attacks deal bonus magic damage, increasing with the time he has spent since his last basic attack. This ability is insane, so let's start off with his passive. The bonus magic damage Thresh does in auto attack can chunk squishy supports and easily win you trades against an enemy bot lane. Thresh's first auto of the game should always be spent on an enemy champion, as much as possible, as his E will guarantee to be charged. It's always better to auto and harass the enemy bot lane as much as possible, but even if you don't, you can always wait a few seconds and chunk them. Sonas can be taken to half health within the first 10 seconds of laning phase if you auto them 3 times, which lets you provide a ton of pressure and could win you the lane. But Thresh's active is when you have the chance to shine. His flay serves as a massive interruption, whether it be flaying Tristana's out of their jumps, keeping Lee Sin from landing his Q for a second time, or flat out denying Shyvana from ulting. There is so much you can do with this play that I'm not even going to bother telling you everything you can counter, but here's a short list. You can interrupt Cat's ult, you can stop Lee Sin from reactivating Q if you flay him out of his dash towards your ADC, or your teammate, you can stop Tristana or Lucian from jumping or dashing away respectively, you can flay Shyvana out of her initial ult, making her dragon do less damage initially, you can interrupt Malzahar ult, you can interrupt Lucian ult, you can stop Leona's E from going all the way through, you can stop Alisar's dash and knock up combo if you time it correctly, you can stop camps from being hooked over by walls from Blitzcrank by flaying them back over, you can stop Zack's E, you can interrupt Vel'Koz's ult, and obviously there's a lot more. Using Flay offensively in order to keep your enemies from disengaging is a lot easier than using Flay defensively, but if you're able to master Flay, you can absolutely decimate the enemy team. Thresh's R, or his ult, is called The Box, and while being somewhat useful, it's not nearly as good as his Q, W, and E. After a 0.75 second delay, Thresh summons 5 spectral walls around him that last up to 5 seconds. Each wall breaks upon contact with an enemy champion, dealing them magic damage and slowing them by 99% for 2 seconds. This ability I primarily use to force fights and keep enemies within range of damage dealers for my team. It can also be used when you are running away from people in order to slow them down or deter enemies from chasing. Now onto runes and masteries. On Thresh, I take 9 seals and 3 quints of armor in order to make up for Thresh not receiving armor as he levels up. I take 9 scaling glyphs of magic resist and 9 attack damage marks. If you want to cheese, you can take 8 damage marks and 1 crit chance mark for that early game pressure, or just rather luck, but I'd rather play it safe personally. As for masteries, I go 0, 18, 12 with 5 points in Wanderer for extra room potential, 1 point in Secret Stash for sustain, 5 points in Meditation for better mana regen, so you can just miss more hooks and miss ease. Take 1 point in Bandit for that extra support income, 5 points in Intelligence for that extra CDR, and for your final point in the Cunning Tree, I like to take Thunderlords for extra poke in the early game, but I've seen other Threshes use Strength of the Ages. In the Resolve Tree, take 5 points on Unyielding, 1 point in Tough Skin, 5 in Veteran Scars, and 1 in Insight. If you plan on going the Strength of the Ages route, which is 12, 18, take 5 points in Swiftness and of course, Strength of the Ages. The main difference between the two is of course that Thunderlords is for more of a aggressive laning phase, where Strength of the Ages is all about sustain and becoming a massive tank for your team. For summoner spells, take Flash and Exhaust. It's the safest route, and Exhaust is much more useful in teamfights than Ignite. If you do take Ignite, know that in order for it to pay off, you have to go in as much as possible. Now, here's my advice on items. You're going to want to keep at least 1 heavy armor item to make up for the fact that you don't gain armor passively as you level up. To solve this, I'd recommend taking Randuin's early against AD teams and Thornmail late game. Deadman's Plate is another option as you are able to have massive amounts of armor and health and a pretty good roam potential, but you do not slow enemies after building up momentum, so you lose some of the item's function. If you are up against AP teams, take Locket of the Iron Solari, a Thornmail late, and maybe a ZZ Rot Portal for hyper protection against AD and AP. My standard build on Thresh is a Randuin's, a Locket of Iron Solari, a Spirit Visage, an Eye of the Equinox, the Sightstone and Targon's Hybrid, Mercury Treads, and either a Thornmail or Banshee's Veil depending on whether or not I'm up against a majority AD or AP team. Take a Warding Trinket early in the game and swap it out at level 9 for an Oracle of Alteration. You can get a Sweeping Lens after you buy Sightstone, but I would rather have the additional vision while I'm in laning phase that is granted by the Warding Totem. After level 9, however, laning phase begins to end, so it's alright to grab an Oracle Trinket instead to clear objectives and wards. Obviously, if you're against a Rengar Teemo, take Sweeping Lens as soon as possible. For starting items, take Tarkins for the extra gold income and sustain. Thresh is able to trade well against his enemies thanks to his empowered E, but in the process you're bound to take minion aggro and damage. Tarkin's Brace helps with that and gives your lane a little bit of extra sustain. Don't build Tarkins all the way through to Phase of the Mountain, but rather trade it out for Eye of the Equinox item, so that way you can have extra vision across the map instead of a crappy shield that comes up once every 90 seconds. Tarkins can also mean the difference between life and death during fights, and there have been moments during laning phase in which my ADC escaped with a sliver of health, thanks to Tarkins. For boots, take Mercury Treads for that protection against CC. They're pretty much an auto-buy for me unless every single person on the enemy team is primarily AD, in which case buy armor boots. I'm not a huge fan of Mobies or Swiftness boots, as I feel that while they can help Thresh roam, during teamfights it's more important to be tanky than mobile. I guess now that I'll talk about roams and warding as Thresh, although it's something that most supporters know already. I'll make this brief. Buy pinks and put them here or here, depending on which side of the map you are. Ward these bushes and here along the river. If you force your lane opponents out of lane and make them recall without using your personal summoners, roam mid and get an easy kill, or try to steal an enemy buff. If you stumble across an enemy taking your pink ward, engage on them and reward the bush with a vision ward. Vision will save you from ganks, and I can honestly say that I've won lanes because of the vision that wards have provided me. Now that we've gotten the boring stuff out of the way, we can finally talk about strategy. From my personal experience, there are two main ways to play Thresh. There's the passive way, in which you sit back and wait for an enemy to engage on you, then immediately re-engage or counter with Lantern, or there is the poke lane, in which Thresh actively goes for pulls and hooks, and only plays defensively when it gets low. I'm a huge fan of the latter. In order to position properly, Thresh should play on the sides of his lane, constantly looking for angles to hook and harass, and should also play closer to the bushes in any lane he's in, so as to easily be able to ward and throw lanterns in case of a gank. As a general note, if you play and position aggressively, the enemy will begin to play more passively. Vice versa, when you play more defensively, the enemy will begin to play more aggressively. So, when going for hooks, Thresh should either aim at A, minions who are moving out of the way, or about to die from an auto that is already in animation from your ADC, or B, Thresh should aim at the shoulders of his targets. What aiming for the shoulders does in laning scenarios is that it can bypass the smaller hitboxes of minions right in front of the enemy champion and latch onto the larger hitbox of the champion. If done right, it looks almost as if you hooked a person through minions in front of him. As a cautionary note, however, if you intend to throw a hook, make sure that there are no minions beside or directly behind you when you begin the animation. Too often, hooks that could have hit enemies instead hit the minion behind me or the minion right next to me. In addition, just because you have landed a hook on a minion doesn't mean that the engage is off. By going in and then throwing a lantern behind you, or by throwing a lantern behind you and then going in, you're still able to force fights just by reactivating your Q and doing a flay ult combo, which reminds me of combos. Your basic offensive combo is QE, in which you land a hook on a champion, go in by reactivating Q, and then flay the champion towards your ADC. Most Threshes activate E instantly, but if you're up against a champion who has a dash and jump as an escape, wait about half a second before activating the E. This often has the effect of cancelling any escape the enemy has, and it looks pretty damn cool. Your basic lantern combo is QW or WQ. By throwing a lantern on the ground and immediately going in on any hook, whether it land on a minion, champion, whatever, Baron even, don't go in on Baron, you're able to force a fight and begin trading with the enemy. Now onto the hard parts. If you aren't satisfied with the QW combo, you can start throwing in all sorts of other shit, like, flashing to your opponent so you can match their attempt to escape, followed by ulting, which traps them in the fight, followed by exhaust or whatever. You can also start a basic QE combo, then throw a lantern behind you as you ult, bring your ADC into the fight as your ult blocks the enemy in place. So here's some examples of offensive combos.
Yeah, so it's just doing fancy stuff and then Mundo comes and slaps him a couple of times and he dies. Classic.
That I passed out.
Yeah.
Passed out from heat exhaustion and...
Like your projectile followed him like a creep or something. Here, I'm coming bot. If you just keep him entangled up.
I don't know if you can do anything.
I'm doing something, dude. Me and Mundo down by the schoolyard.
Oh shit!
Oh, let me come in. Let me come in.
Sorry. But that's all offense. What about defensive combos? Your main form of defense combo should just be dropping a W in a bush so your ADC or whatever you're supporting can grab it. Worst case scenario is that after you drop your Lantern, you also have to drop ult, so that way there's an additional escape route, and you block the enemy from getting to you. So here are some examples of that.
What was she doing? Wow, his Q did 400 to me. Mundo! Mundo,
okay,
no!
No.
Yeah, wait, he's gonna get away. He's getting away, but like, that's greedy. Okay, he's not getting away.
If you looked at the mini-map, you'd see that
I'm Noah now.
David, Lantern.
I said to go behind them,
David,
but
Lantern.
Fuck!
yes,
I hate you, David. I hate you.
Don't worry,
We all hate David.
There you go.
Oh, nice job, Colonel.
I like how it's now 4-0 for SK2
Haha!
with a 3.3
David, I have to
K goal.
Bitch!
Fuck,
Bitch!
you hate me.
What?
Why you hate me,
Because I
huh?
always hated you.
Because you're the worst.
Dude, I had that all planned out. I had
Literally
ages for you,
the
I had
worst.
everything. Okay, now that we've gotten those out of the way, here are some of your basic lane tips for specific matchups. I'm only going to mention how to counter other supports here, since they, not the ADCs, affect how the lane is played the most. So let's start at the top of the list. Against Janna, you're going to want to play as aggressively as possible. She's very squishy, so you're going to want to focus her in fights rather than her ADC. If you land a single hook on her, the enemy team is going to lose that fight, especially if your ADC can position in such a manner that only one of you gets knocked up by her tornado. Against Nami, you're going to want to play a little bit more passive, as because of her heal it makes it really hard to trade with her. Go for hooks on her ADC instead of her, or go for sneaky pokes in order to force Nami to spam heal on herself. Go in when she's but otherwise play back a bit. Against Alistar, it really depends on how good you are with Flay. If you're confident you can spot an Alistar WQ combo and you can Flay him out of his W, feel free to play up close and personal. Hug your ADC if you can Flay him out of it, but if you can't, play to one side of the lane, preferably away from Alistar, and be ready to Lantern your carry out if Alistar goes in on him. If you can't Flay Alistar away on time, be sure to isolate yourself from your ADC so that you're available for an escape. If both of you get knocked up with his combo, the fight is instantly in the enemy laner's favor. Against Braum, the same kind of mentality that you have against Alistar applies. Trade while you can, and make sure to dodge as many Qs as possible. Don't let Braum's passive affect both of you, but tank Qs for your ADC, so that if anyone gets frozen, it's you. Play passive enough so that you can rescue your ADC with Lantern, but feel free to trade with Braum. Remember, you're technically ranged, so feel free to poke and make his life hell. Against Leona. Now, if you're at all familiar with me, you know that I hate Leonas. I think that their skill, their ability to just go in through minions, ugh, I don't like it. But luckily, you counter the crap out of Leona. So against Leona, you're going to want to wait for her very obvious E animation to start before you do anything in laning against her. If you can flay her away from your ADC, or even you have effectively disengaged and can begin autoing her. If you decide to go in against her when using your QE combo, save your flay for when she tries to counter-engage. Laning against Leona should be easy until level 6. Once she hits that point, play a little bit more passive, and be ready to Lantern your ADC out from her ult. Now, a little bit of advice, I guess, on the whole flaying to counter Leona's E. Unless you have incredible reaction times, which you already kind of have to do in order to, I guess, counter Leona's E, she's probably going to land a stun off. And you should always play a little bit in front of your ADC when you're up against a Leona. However, just because you flare out of it doesn't mean that the stun's not going to hit someone. What you want, though, is you want the stun to hit you instead of your ADC. So this way, your ADC could continue auto-attacking Leona and make sure that you win that trade. You're probably going to be stunned and it is going to be as annoying as hell, but you have prevented the enemy from effectively locking down your ADC and doing more damage to him or her. Okay, now that we've gotten that out of the way, I'm just going to do a basic rundown against your main supports like, Bard, Karma, Soraka. Sona, Brand, Lulu, whatever. Play aggressively, or play as aggressively as possible. Focus them down in fights rather than the ADC, because you have to focus on them rather than the ADC, because if you don't, they're just going to naturally poke you down. I mean, they're mages. You're a tank. You have to become their bitch late game, so you might as well not become their bitch during laning phase. Now, obviously, the counterpoint to that is if you can land a hook on the enemy ADC, go for it, because that's really, the target. But more often than not, because they're playing a mage support, they're going to be positioned in such a way that not only will their spells hit you, but your spells will also hit them. So, if you can effectively shut them down during laning phase and keep, Brand from becoming the stupidly broken fire bitch that he is, all the more power for you. Against Bard specifically, if you see a chime in the river, or if you see chimes that, Bard really wants to collect, go for them. Like, if he's not in lane and there's a charm, like, right outside of the bush and river that's bot lane, he's going for the chime. Like, there's no other way he would go. Waiting there for your ADC to come with you, hook Bard, kill Bard, make Bard, like, your bitch. It's gonna be a fun time. Against tanky supports like Nautilus, Blitzcrank, and Tahm Kench, Lantern's, it's gonna be your best friend. It's an easy escape for your ADC. It counters Naut and Blitz's hook. It can save your ADC from Tahm Kench stacking passive. And, yeah. This is why Thresh is, in my opinion, the best support. He might not have the most strongest kit, but he has the best kit, the most consistent kit. You can always escape from an enemy's engage using Thresh's Lantern. You can always engage with his Q and his E and his box. There is no reason why you should lose lane as Thresh, unless you're just outclassed. If you're silver and you're up against Diamond 2, just pick Thresh and play incredibly passive. They're probably gonna counter the shit out of you, but you shouldn't lose lane on a mechanical level, because it's really quite easy. People say that Thresh is the most mechanically intensive champion. I don't really buy that. Funny story is how I got playing Thresh. I watched a video and said, "Oh look, that guy is blue." The YouTuber I was watching was playing Thresh with his champion, saying, "Oh, that guy's blue. I like blue. I want that one." And you imagine my disappointment when I figured out that Thresh was actually green. Okay, whatever. Now on to tricks you can do as Thresh. When laning against Ezreal, look for certain tells that can tell you if he's going to Arcane Shift out. This is usually characterized by a 0.1 second of hesitation, in which you can kind of see him stop walking as his animation prepares. If you want to counter him, aim your hook about 3 to 4 Ezreal body lengths ahead of him. If you have him against a wall, he's most likely going to jump in a straight line along it, or he's going to escape back in the middle of the lane. So there's two options. He's either going to get back in the middle away from the wall, or he's going to keep on going an Arcane Shift forward in front of the wall. Use that knowledge to pick him off. Each Mad Life hook you throw is technically a 50-50 guess as to whether or not they're going to juke left, right, or... yeah, left or right, especially if it against the wall. I was going to say left, right, and middle, but that'd be like a 33-33-33. In this scenario, it's a 50-50. Anyway, it's all a matter of guess and luck. So if you do guess correctly, if you're right, it'll pay off and you'll end up with like a sick play. But if you're not, oh well, you force the enemy to burn and escape. It's the same rule with Flash. People should be really familiar with Flash's range. So if you're in a position where you're like, okay, there's no way he's going to just let me hook him. He's definitely going to flash. You have a 30-30-30 chance of predicting where he is, and obviously 10% chance is, he's actually retarded. Am I allowed to say that anymore? He's actually slow in the mental facilities and just keeps on walking in a straight line. At higher level elo, you'll have more opportunities to Mad Life because more people will play the game correctly. They'll actually flash because they're used to doing flashes to escape rather than just walking a straight line. If you do miss a Mad Life, if you do predict a flash that doesn't ultimately come out, you just end up looking like an idiot, which is just, part of playing Thresh. So, Thresh also has a part of his kit called the Tower. This ability is pretty unique in that it lets you force the enemy to fight under your tower by doing all of your combos and such underneath your tower. If the enemy is stupid enough to let slip a single auto once you've, started going in on them underneath your tower, not only do they have to deal with you and your ADC autoing them, but they also have to deal with tower shots. You would not believe how many times the laning phase has been thrown in my favor because of this strategy. So, in order to do this effectively, let the enemy laners push up, and when they begin autoing your tower, that's when you need to go in. If you can land a hook either on them or on the minion right in front of them, flay, do the whole ult combo, exhaust, ignite, whatever, and force a fight from which they can't escape from. At the very least, the enemy will burn summoners on you. More likely than not, they'll actually die. I've gotten triple kills this manner, and usually, if the jungler is ganking and they're feeling extra confident, you'll be able to at least get 1 or 2, hopefully 3. Finally, the last Thresh trick that I can offer you, and this is it's almost 30 minutes long by now. If you're ever in a tight spot, you can use jungle camps as a quick dash and escape. If you're running down bot with 200 HP, hook Gromp or hook Krugs and just get out of lane. It's as easy as that. Well, that's all, guys. That's all I can think of to tell you guys about Thresh. Did I miss something? Did I forget your favorite Thresh trick or combo? Let me know in the comments, and please like the video and subscribe or whatever. Damn, that sounded desperate. Like the video or subscribe. I don't make any money off of this shit. Short channel update. If you are waiting on me to produce more music content, or rather make visualizers for music, I am working on that. Right now we're continuing on with the Overwatch music videos. Unfortunately, my computer is being a little bit glitchy right now, so I'm not able to effectively, for instance, normally when I edit stuff in Premiere or After Effects, it comes out very, very crisp and clean. However, because I've been abusing my computer and that I've rendered stuff in 4K almost every single time, I'm pretty sure that I'm going to render this video in 4K. My computer started to slow down, so I need to get some replacement parts in order for me to continue that level of quality that I want to make for you guys. So anyway, like and subscribe, or don't. Dislike, unsubscribe. No, don't do that, because then I feel bad. But whatever, have a wonderful day. Peace.